Welcome to Vivid Talk Live. I am your host, Gwen Witherspoon. I am a brand strategist and a Better Life Coach. Vivid Talk Live is all about your personal and professional development. And I am here to help you learn a fresh way of thinking and doing for all you were designed to build. I want to say that again. I am here to help you learn a fresh way of thinking and doing for all you were designed to build. You can watch live Wednesdays at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on your favorite social networks or on my website at gwenwitherspoon.com, where you will also find the replays. And you are made. This is my intro for tonight's subject. You are made in the image of your Creator with the power to create and cultivate your environment. So tonight, I'm going to start a new series to help you find your purpose in the dignity and divinity of work. That phrase came to me this weekend while I was watching a movie, and I'll tell you more about that after we come back. But in the meantime, I want you to please introduce yourself in the comments. Your questions are welcome. Say hi to Ron, who is helping me monitor the chat. Thank you so much for joining. Please share the link to invite your friends. Tell them about the replays, and we'll get into it right after this. We're going to get into it right after this. Hold on, I promise. I moved some stuff around, obviously. Let's do my show intro may be gone. What happened? Looks like it may have disappeared. So anyway, we'll go ahead and start without the show intro. Let me see if I have it anywhere else. Just to make sure. No, I don't know what I was doing. Anyway, I'm going to go ahead and tell you where to find everything. I want to show you my my website. Let's go there. Here we go. You can visit gwenwitherspoon.com and find everything there is to know about me. You can see the latest blog posts. You can watch the show live. And you can see the last replay at the bottom of the page. Then if you want to see more, just click on the replays button. That's going to take you to this fabulous page where you will see all of the episodes that we've done to date. And this is the latest blog post series is about developing your personal brand map. Developing your personal brand map. I am going back over, just kind of reviewing in just a different format what we've talked about over the last couple of weeks. So this is going to be a really great resource because it'll be another way to look at the same information that we've gone through. A way, if you don't have time to watch the entire episode, you can kind of go through here and get a really quick overview. Now, I want to make sure that you also follow me in social media. Here we go. Follow at Gwen Fuchsias on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and Gwen Witherspoon Coach on YouTube. There we go. I'm just all messed up tonight, so forgive me. But I gotta tell you, so this has been a really fabulous holiday season for me because I've had a phenomenal year in spite of all the things that are going on outside of my home and outside of our office, in my business and in my own personal development. And launching Vivid Talk Live this year is probably one of the best things that I have done for my life, for my career, for my business, for my ministry, for everything, because it's helping me to bring everything together and to understand fully who I am and what it is I have to offer, what I want to say, how I want to help you, how I can take all the 30 plus years of experience in this marketing, communications, branding arena, in development, in training, in all of the sales, everything that I've done, bringing it together and really sharing the wisdom that I have learned as Gwen Fuchsias with you on Vivid Talk Live. And so as I have been doing that, it's been a really intense year. There's been a lot of time. I mean, clearly we all had to spend a lot more time at home than we would normally do. But this is also my home office anyway. So it just seemed like it intensified. And because my business was growing at such a really fabulous pace, I was developing a team, really making a shift from being a glorified freelancer to being an agency principal. All of those things really put a lot of pressure. And I'm known to love work. I've alluded to that before. I've been accused of being a workaholic by a couple of folks, but I don't really see myself as a workaholic. I just really enjoy creating. I enjoy developing. I enjoy investing time and energy and watching something grow and cultivate. I love watching the light come on in people's eyes. I was a sales manager in two major retail chains, and the thing I loved the most about my job was being able to develop the members of my team and help them grow, just to be better at their jobs. That's the most thrilling. Every direct sales company I've ever been in, I've always been a top recruiter because I love helping people to solve their problems and see potential and understand what they're capable of. So this has been fabulous. But I said all that to say that it's been really intense. I mean, really intense. I've worked harder in a different way than I have ever worked this year. And as a result, I've had a number of really huge projects that kind of went back to back. And what I call those work binges. So when I get through a work binge, what I used to, what increasingly started to happen was that I would just be much more tired than I recognized at the end of each one. And it was kind of becoming a little more increasingly difficult to figure out how to really truly rest in between. And I noticed some emotional shifts and changes after I would, go from one project to the other. And so this holiday season, said all that to say, this holiday season has been a rare opportunity for me to do a lot of nothing. And in doing a lot of nothing, like probably many of you, is that we have been watching a lot of movies. And so while scrolling through Netflix, I saw The Butler come up. And I saw The Butler when it came out. I think it was 2013. I saw that movie. And I know that I've seen it. And typically once I've seen it, a movie, I don't really go back. But for some reason, I had a little downtime, was getting dressed, and I thought, oh, let me start this. Started watching it, and it was as if I had never seen it. And so very quickly I started just really, there were just so many things that hit me very emotionally. I think really watching the movie in the context of all of the social justice things that have been happening this year, the intensity of all of those, my own personal reckoning with my own with my own DNA, my personal DNA, like I did a 23andMe, and they keep updating it. So I'm getting more and more and more Nigerian and more and more and more British and Irish, which is slapping me in the face about my own personal history, which is apparent just in the way I look. However, when you see it on paper, when you see it in real life, and you see the connections and see the migrations and influences and all of that, it's so overwhelming, right? So I'm going through all of that emotional stuff. Then I watched this movie, and really at the end of it, the phrase that came to me was the dignity and divinity of work. And there was a phrase in the movie that they kept saying, they said at least twice, was the room should feel empty when you are in it. And I'm like, and then as we went through, there were so many situations where this butler, this White House butler, who worked for 8 presidents during the civil rights movement, and all of that. And hey, G Money Man, great to see you. But it was so interesting to watch how he and the other butlers were being treated as they worked. But when you watched at a certain level, though, there was this beauty to watching them grow and get more skilled in their labor. And I just couldn't help but think about, here's this white man trying to tell these black men how they had to function and what they had to do. Right, as you go through the whole movie, you see so much evidence of that, right? And what struck me was how valuable work is. The ability to apply your hand to something and be rewarded for that. Be rewarded with satisfaction, with just with a sense of accomplishment, with just the opportunity to make a living for yourself, to feed your family, to kind of chart your own destiny. This is the legacy of work that God himself has granted to us, that it's not something that any human being has really any control over. And so that phrase, the dignity and divinity of work, and it's not a job. I'm not talking about just going somewhere and getting a paycheck, but there is dignity and divinity in the work that you have been called to do, that you have been purposed to do, that you have been gifted to do. And so and I was going through more files and found something that I had created called a purpose grid. I love charts, as I keep telling you. And in this purpose grid, I kind of mapped out really the trajectory, like kind of 5 primary keys to finding your purpose. But what I realized is you cannot find your purpose outside of the work that you are doing. that those two factors are linked together, the work and your purpose. Because once somebody finds their purpose, then they know what they should be doing, right? So if you are, but then, you might work your way into purpose. Purpose is not something that just shows up, for most of us. This isn't just something that's apparent as soon as you are born. But there are some traits, some characteristics that you can look for from birth, on up. But you can, the two work together. It's like the whole concept of faith and works. You can believe something about yourself, but you actually have to do the work to learn, and understand fully what that means and how you are supposed to conduct yourself and how you're supposed to behave, right? So that's what I wanted to talk to you. I want to help you find your purpose in the dignity and divinity of work. You hear people talking about their life's work. We talk about careers, in America, in our capitalistic society. Oh, I love that. I made G Money Man. He says, I made my problem my purpose, child with disability in grad school for applied behavior analysis. That almost brings tears to my eyes. That's it. I think you can make your own personal problem a purpose, and you can also, find somebody else's problem. So in this case, he's done that. He has a child that had a need, and out of that need, he found his purpose for how he can help other people. And oftentimes, and that's so good though, we have been going through it this year, and some of us more than others. Some of us have the blessing and the opportunity to kind of watch what's happening to everybody else and be impacted, but not, devastated by it. And then there are those who have lost loved ones, who have battled the disease themselves, who have lost their living, lost their jobs, lost their businesses. There's, so many things. There's some lost their lives to violence. I mean, there's just so much going on all at once. It's amazing how human beings are even equipped to handle all of this. But we don't grow until we really have a problem, until there is a problem that even motivates us enough. Like, you don't even personally have to have the problem, but it's got to be painful enough that it motivates you to make a change. Some of the things going on are in our society. Some of those things are designed to stir you up, to make you angry, so that you will act, so that you will change, so that you will grow. And I think for many of us, purpose can come out of it, right? And I think even when you are forced out of a situation that feels kind of comfortable and that you understand and know, into the unknown, you are forced, you're propelled into a situation where you have to make a change, right? And really, as bad as that hurts, it could be one of the best things to happen to you, or the whatever 5 things, all the many things that have happened this year, all piled up together. There's a principle also in the Bible where it says God will not give you more than you can bear. And when it feels the most unbearable, that's where you have an opportunity for your strength to rise up and for you to come out much better than you would have been. And you can come out and be in a situation where you're actually grateful for the trouble, grateful for the trauma, because you recognize that it took you to a place that you wouldn't have gone to by yourself. And it brought out so much more and so much better. So when I talk about being a better life coach, I want to help you find that better life. And that better life is available. But I want to present to you that better life is found in your work, and not just the job. So I want to make the distinction between the two. It's not just what somebody's paying you for, but it's the work that you are graced and gifted to do. And that work, that grace, that gift will ultimately lead to money, but it's not, I think in the beginning, it's not necessarily determined by money. It's not driven by money. And my husband and I just did a huge photo shoot recently. I love being on set with him when he's doing graduation portraits, because he's so into a higher education. Come on now. So G Money, he says, I currently determine public assistance benefits in the government, not a glamorous job, but it provides. Listen, you know what, those jobs that we have that are not glamorous, that are not exciting, that feel like drudgery, that are maybe even paying us less than we're really worth, those jobs are really, you got to think of them as they're funding, they're funding your purpose ultimately. And what you have to do is you've got to gather the strength that in the middle of that situation, because when you're giving your time and energy to anything all day, every week, it's emotionally and physically just draining. And so it's the easiest thing to do is to come home and then just do nothing. But what I want to stir you up to do is, no matter what situation you're in, I want to stir you to really find your purpose, find the work that feeds you, not just feeds your family, not just pays your bills, but find the work that feeds your spirit, your soul, that the work that's founded and rooted in the gift and grace on your life. And so I'm going to start out tonight. I'm sure every time I start one of these series, I always think, I don't have that much to say about that. And then I get to gabbing, right? And so now I'm sure that this is going to be multiple episodes, but we're going to start with the this first one tonight. And so ultimately, I'm going to be going through, there's kind of, I was going to call it 5 keys to purpose, right? Because there's kind of 5 basic steps. I want to go through those very quickly and then just kind of introduce what I've identified it as a calling, but I really probably want to talk more in terms of your core motivation. Really, your calling can be defined as a core motivation, a strong urge toward a particular way of life. So we want to hit on that, but I probably will just touch that a little bit, and then we can go more into it next week. But this week, I want to introduce this whole idea of the dignity and divinity of work. Oh, that's so good. And I've mentioned before, this is not technically it's not a Bible study, but most of the concepts and everything that I get, everything that I do is really rooted in the Word of God in some way, even if I don't say it. And so every once in a while, though, I want to pull out the scripture. Let's see. I want to find it for you. And I think that, even if you're not a Bible reader, I think you can appreciate the principles that I'm bringing out. I really, really, really consider Miles Monroe. He's passed away now, but I consider Miles Monroe a mentor of mine, like a mentor even in my head, right? And one of the things that he brought out in this particular verse, it's here it is. It's Genesis 2:5, and let's see. I'm just going to go ahead and read it from the New International Version because it's at the top here. It says, "Now no shrub had yet appeared," talking about after God, as God was creating the earth and everything that he had put in place. And then it says after that, "Now no shrub had yet appeared on the earth and no plant had yet sprung up, for the Lord God had not sent rain on the earth, and there was no one to work the ground." He said there was no man to till the ground in the King James. And what I learned from Dr. Monroe is that God withholds rain. He withholds increase. He withholds the harvest, right? When there is no one who can work the ground, who can manage the increase, who can manage the abundance. And so the first thing I want to talk to you about, to just point out there, is when he talks about there was no man to work. So the work that you have been assigned to do is so vital. And it's not just a job, not just something that you're doing for someone else to pay the bills. It is, it's kind of intrinsically how you function and what motivates you, what gets you up, what gets you excited, what makes you move. Okay. And I believe that every single one of us has at least one core motivation, one primary gift that really drives our whole life. And if we are in tune with that, then we'll have an opportunity to live what I call live our lives at play, live our lives effectively doing while delightfully being, right? And that to me is work. That's how I define it. And so when I talk about finding your purpose in the dignity and divinity of work, I think first we have to recognize that work comes from a divine place. It comes from the spirit realm, first and foremost. And when we tap into that, that's when we're going to get more clarity. We'll be able to make every day, make our vision vivid, because we are starting from just the deepest place possible in the core of your being, your origins, your existence. Okay. I want to get all deep on you, but it really, it gets me excited when I think about that. And whenever I tap into that for myself, which I feel like I've been doing a lot during 2020, I think it really just makes life sweet. You still work hard, you still have challenges, all of those things, but there's more triumph at the end of it. There's more, you feel invincible at the end, or as you work through every situation while you are effectively doing and delightfully being. Okay. But so 5 keys. One is vision. The other, I call it communication. Probably somewhere I'll shift that a little bit, but I want to, I'll explain that a little bit better. But vision, communication, study, talent, and discipline. Is that 5? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yep, that's 5. Okay. So Proverbs 29:18, another Bible verse, says, without a vision, the people perish. The New King James says, without a revelation of what God is doing, people cast off restraint. And I think when we don't have a revelation of what God has done in us, what God's idea is about us, what gift we have, who we are, when we are not clear about that, when we don't have just a revelation, a divinely inspired idea about who we are, what it is we're supposed to be doing, then it's easy for us to cast off restraint, and you can waste time, you can procrastinate, you can backtrack, you can doubt, you can get involved in just pleasure, you become unmotivated, all those things that cause you to perish, right? And that's why we're doing Vivid Talk. Vivid Talk is about helping you get a vision for every area of life. And vision starts with a revelation. Okay, so I want to help you get a revelation. So one of the keys to understanding your purpose, to finding your purpose, is getting a revelation of who you are and the gifts that you've been given. And then communication is about, so if the presupposition is that we have all been given a gift, then the idea is if you have been given a gift, then make sure you use it. And when you use it, you are communicating. You are sharing. You're sharing yourself, the best of yourself, the deepest part of yourself, when you're sharing the gifts that God has given you, when you come from that place. And then there's another Bible verse that says that your gift will make room for you. Because if you're operating out of that, like for instance, I started out in advertising right out of college. After I got my graphic design degree, went straight to an advertising agency, but I started in the front office, right? Because I'd always been administrative. But my gift, I've always been an artist. And even as a receptionist, I approached my job with creativity, like that gift of creative, that gift of art. I was always showing up with it in some way. Okay. And I was quickly promoted every step of the way. I was an account assistant in the account services department. As an account assistant, they finally offered me either the opportunity to get promoted to account executive, or to just move totally over to the creative department, which they said that I approached my job, my account assistant work, from such a creative place that they wanted to create a job for me in the art department if that's what I wanted. Because I told them when I came there that because I had a degree in graphic design, that I wanted to eventually move to the art department. I had no belief and confidence that was actually going to ever happen, right? because I was so mentally and wounded and wrapped up and too busy judging myself and judging my gift and judging my ability, that I said it, I spoke it, so I used the creative power to actually help bring it to pass. But then my gift is the thing that kept showing up, and it made room for a new position for me. Okay. And so no matter where you are, if you are in a public assistance job or a public service job, and or you're in some situation that is not ideal for you, it's not where you want to go, it doesn't feed your soul, you can still show up and use your gift to help create room for you, whether it's there or somewhere else. The bottom line is wherever you go, it goes with you. And if you learn how to just tap into that, no matter where you are, you're going to come out so much better. So you'll be communicating, you're going to be sharing who you are every step of the way. And so the next step is the next key to finding your purpose is study. And so it's hilarious. It's not a Bible study. However, almost every point has a Bible verse. But so these are some foundational keys that I go to over and over again when I talk about personal branding. So that's part of the reason. But Galatians 6:4-5 from the Message translation says, make a careful exploration of who you are in the work you've been given and sink yourself into that. And I like to say you need to get a PhD in you, right? We spend all this time studying everything, but we're not studying ourselves. You got to learn who it is you are, what it is you have. I love that careful exploration. It's not loose. It's not like we're not sharing it like we're like zodiac signs. We love to say, oh yeah, I'm an Aries, I'm a Sagittarius, I'm a this, I'm a that. But once we know what somebody's sign is, then we think quickly, we sum them up and say, oh yeah, this is who you are. And then we keep moving. Or we even say that about ourselves. But what you have to do is go beyond that. Beyond zodiac, beyond any personality description, beyond any limitation or any belief you may have about yourself, whether it's positive or negative, and just keep studying because one of my favorite things that people say, or one I want to talk about, is with women especially, people will always ask the question, well, can women have it all, right? What, can women have it all? And I'm like, you never ask that of men, right? Can men have it all? But we ask a woman, can she have it all? And what I realized after hearing that question over and over again in so many different ways, what I realized is you can have it all. No matter who you are, you can have all of it, but you just cannot have all of it all at the same time necessarily. And all changes based on who you are, where you are, and what stage of life you're in. And what may have been all to you in college, when you are in the middle of your career, that may not be all anymore. And so what we have to do is really give ourselves the room to grow. And as you grow, you have to learn more because you're capable of so much more. Where you started is not where you're going to end up. And it certainly isn't where you have to. You are in control, and you don't control everything that happens to you every day, day in, day out. You can't, but you are in control of you, right? I learned as a manager in luxury retail, you got to control what you can control. I learned as an independent entrepreneur, you control what you can control. And that all I can do is control me. I can't decide what somebody else is going to do. I can't figure out if somebody's going to buy something from me. I can't figure out if somebody's going to watch Vivid Talk Live, but I control whether I do the show or not. I control whether I write the content, whether I share who I am, whether I develop this gift that God has given me or not. And so you do too. But you have to, the first way you can control that is you have to study it. You have to examine yourself. You have to be willing to allow the light to shine on the dark places on the inside of you. And you got to be willing to do the work to develop and grow and change and do it without judging yourself and without just speaking negatively, just literally recognizing that we are all human beings that are capable of greatness, and we can also be real devastating and hateful, right? So, and no one has a monopoly on that. We are all in the same condition. We all need help. We all have blind spots. We all make mistakes. And so it's all about how we face those things and grow and change through it all at no matter, at every stage. And so the key to that is study. And then the fourth area is your talent. So talent, I think talent is really about just your natural aptitudes. We all have talents, and it's easy to look at somebody else's perceived talent and say, "Oh, I wish I was like that, or I wish I had that." But it's better to you can admire them and but just take the time and to discover and recognize your own talent, because it may not be musical or athletic or something that's obvious to the sight, but we all have talent. We all have natural aptitudes towards something. I discovered by accident that I am handy, right? I'm kind of a crafty. I'm a craftsman. I took a class how to make scale miniatures, and I'm not going to like cry and geek out like I always do when I talk about my miniature obsession. But I took a high level, like museum quality level course on how to make miniatures. I went through a summer's camp, a school per se, and this one class, I must have used about 20 or 30 different pieces of equipment that I had never used before. And when I got done, the instructor said, "You are really good at this." And I'm like, "Oh, am I?" So it really helped me understand, though, that I am good at that. I'm not just an artist, but I am a craftsman. I love working with my hands. I make jewelry, all these things. But so I have a natural aptitude for that, which I wouldn't have known if I hadn't done something, and if someone else hadn't looked at me and helped me to see that. So, and I just say all that because I really want you to open up so you can discover really the depth and breadth of your talent, and that there are so many ways to describe talent. And if you know anything about, say, the music industry, or athletics, we look at those two industries and we say, we see the athletes themselves. They are the superstars, that we see. But who's making the most money? It's not the athletes. I don't care how much they're making. The people behind the scenes are making more money, and there are all kinds of people, and maybe making more money and doing a whole lot less work. So there are other ways to make money, just as there are other ways to make money in different industries. There are depths and levels of talent that you possess that are valuable and necessary. So, but you have to take the time to first make sure you recognize them as valuable. And as you do that, your life is just going to get richer and richer, and it's going to be leading you to purpose. Okay. And then the last key is discipline. Now, I love to call it the D word. Discipline is the difference. So I started out by saying that in the scripture, it says that God did not release the rain in the garden because there was no one to work the ground. There was no one to cultivate the garden that He'd created. What's the difference between a field and a garden? It's that someone has managed it. They've worked the land, instead of it just going off, running rampant and doing whatever it's going to do. A garden is beautiful, but it's fashioned and created and designed and cultivated by someone. And so but that takes discipline. You don't just get up one day and all of a sudden you got this gorgeous garden, right? So the work that we do, the value that we create, has to come from us applying ourselves to disciplined action, to really following through on the work. I've been working with a lot of college students and people that are new in their careers, and really trying to cultivate and train and help them, entrepreneurs that are just figuring out how to do this business thing. And the hardest thing in the world is helping them understand the discipline of the work that they have to do. So maybe we need to add another D, the divinity, and discipline of work, because that is the final key. If you could have less talent, but you more discipline, and you're going to come out ahead of the person with all the talent who should, quote unquote, be, leading the way. And so it's just, I'm not going to say a lot about discipline today, but there's a lot to be said for that. And applying yourself to your life's work. In this week's blog post, I talk about this upcoming week. I talk about an artist. She's a Venezuelan artist who, for 90 years, or let's say 80 plus years, she was an artist, and she just gave herself to her art, invested her time and energy in developing it, cultivating it, just because she loved it. I mean, can you imagine spending an entire career doing something like that, not getting really any notoriety, not doing that until she's in her 90s? And I just learned that she died this past August, at 99, at the age of 99. And from 90, early 90s to 99, she was finally being discovered by museums and collectors and making millions of dollars, like after 80 years of work. Well, what she did was she tapped into the grace, the gift on her life, so that she could, and she gave herself to cultivating this gift. Now, painting and creating her art wasn't necessarily the gift, but it was the message that she had, the feeling that she imparted. It was the difference that she made in her work, the love she poured into what she did, her life's work. And out of that life's work, thankfully, before she passed, she at least had an opportunity to reap the rewards of that, and probably her family afterwards. She was able to leave a legacy, but she wouldn't have gotten there without the discipline to continue working, even when it didn't necessarily feel like this was paying off, right? I know whenever we set out to do something, are we going to make money? Is anybody going to pay attention? Especially in social media, is anybody going to like it? Is anybody going to follow me? We let all those things limit or weaken our discipline. And what I want to inspire you to do is to really just dig in and focus so that you can discipline yourself, your life, your actions, and find your purpose, ultimately. And in that purpose, that's where you're going to have the better life, that abundant life that you deserve, that has been destined for you. And you maybe even living it now, but there's other dimensions and other depths of it. There's a more of a difference you can make in the lives of other people. There's more joy that you can find for yourself, for your family, for your loved ones. There's more available. And you don't have to get more if you're happy with where you are. But I also talk about the fact in my blog that one of my favorite mentors in my head is Peter Daniels. And one of the things he says that if you're not moving forward, you're going backwards. So we want to tap into the dignity and divinity of work so that we can find our purpose, and to allow that purpose to help us find forward momentum so that we can step into that better life, that we can constantly be stepping into it, because it's not a destination, it's a journey. Okay. So so there we go. I'm not going to get into the core motivations. I will stop there for today, and then we can pick up again where I'm with this same topic next week. I'll probably be going through this for a little bit, because there's a number of there's the 5 keys that I just shared, but in those 5 keys, I'm going to walk you through step by step. There's kind of 8 different stages to help you really find your purpose. And I've asked, and each one of those stages has a question. And so we'll go through each one of those and help kind of walk you through what I call my purpose grid. I want to thank you so much for joining tonight. Please share the link. Most people, even though we do the shows live, my experience, even when I used to do a Vivid Talk Live podcast, and what we found is that most people watch the videos after the fact, watch the recording, when they watch the replays. And so make sure you take the time to rewatch the replay, to also to share the links with people that you think this might really help. And then I'll see you next Wednesday at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, right here you can watch live on GwenWitherspoon.com, and you can also watch on your favorite network. Most people are watching us on Facebook, and I'll see you then. And I do have my credits video. Bye. I thought I had it. Where is it? There we go.